Intensive work. So I had to clean my thoughts and figure out who I am. John Frusciante never represented Red Hot Chili Peppers. He never spoke at awards presentations, danced in front of cameras, or fought reporters. His guitar is what made Californication sound like the world was falling into a beautiful tragedy. A gentle, unassuming sound conveys pain that words cannot. His training was informal. He wasn't star-like. He didn't seek fame. He rescued Red Hot Chili Peppers from anarchy, changed the band's sound, and helped write their most popular albums. Frusciante left glory twice, once for addiction, once for artistic freedom. He lived ghostly, nearly perished in a rotting house, but survived with thin fingers and open-wounded melodies. This genius never wanted to be a legend, just a musician who could play without interruption. His refusal to be seen makes him memorable. Early life. John Anthony Frusciante was born in Queens, New York, on March 5, 1970, a frigid winter day. His respected judge father valued order. His cultured opera singer mother valued beauty and music. They didn't trust each other. Their marriage terminated when John was 6. Nobody explained why. His preferred lodging was never requested. He followed his mother and her new spouse to Tucson, Arizona, in a little suitcase. A few years later, they moved to Santa Monica, California, to start over. No youngster with no basis has a true beginning. John felt extra as a child. He was the misfit in a structured family with strict rules and emotional remoteness. The last time his mother hugged him was forgotten. Stepfather was harsh and cold. John's biological father wrote sometimes from New York, sometimes disappearing from his mind for months. To avoid being chastised for chatting too much or asking unanswered questions, he went into his own world, the vinyl record world. He adored Frank Zappa's methodical wildness and David Gilmour's mournful solos. Admired Jimi Hendrix for making guitars cry. Red Hot Chili Peppers' curly-haired guitarist Hillel Slovak was admired. John acquired his first guitar, a junked Fender Mustang with corroded strings and scratches, at 11. But he considered it a best buddy. He practiced obsessively for 10 to 12 hours a day till his fingertips bled, till his mother pounded on the door to stop after midnight. John didn't play to be famous. To avoid breakdown, he played. He remained unusual at school. Poor social skills, few friends, bullied for wearing old clothes and not talking about sports or fashion. He left high school amid objections and attended the Guitar Institute of Technology in Hollywood. An odd 16-year-old move. He quit again months later. They taught theory. John merely won emotional understanding. Music wasn't tested. Nothing else made him feel alive. John spent his late teens creating RHCP riffs in his cramped bedroom while his colleagues applied to college or went on dates. Dreamed of joining his heroes. He didn't want fame. He merely wanted to perform with folks who understood guitar's ability to express suffering. He never expected destiny to arrive so quickly. Early carry. Fate struck in 1988 with a death. Frusciante's childhood idol, Jewish guitarist Hillel Slovak, died of a heroin overdose at 26. His death took Red Hot Chili Peppers of their musical spirit and left John with a strange, hurtful, yet beckoning hole. John was 18, scrawny, untidy, unknown to the world, and a crazy boy who wrote letters to record labels and remembered every Slovak note. However, his obsession had brought him closer to the band than anybody else. Slovak's best buddy and RHCP drummer Jack Irons quit following the loss. The band nearly broke. After several auditions, the surviving members decided to try Frusciante, a kid who didn't look the part and didn't have a spectacular stage presence but quiet the room when he took up a guitar. His first band album was 1989's Mother's Milk. Though raw and heavily influenced by Slovak, crisp riffs and unusual melodies were beginning to emerge. John's first sign of originality was the Hillel-themed song Knock Me Down. In a band that had lost its soul, he was finding his voice. The following year, Red Hot Chili Peppers recorded Blood Sugar Sex Magik, 1991. Everything changed there. The band retreated to a mansion with Rick Rubin. No phones, TV, just music. John Frusciante exploded in the small area with guitar lines that blended funk, punk, and blues into something delicate and primal. He didn't solo for show. He played like he was talking to himself. Their signature hit was never planned to happen under the bridge. Anthony Kiedis wrote a loneliness and addiction poetry. Frusciante felt the weight in those phrases, created the chords, and played the first notes. They froze the band so tenderly. There was more than rock. A confession. When the album dropped, RHCP erupted. Global tours, platinum records, limitless MTV airplay. However, Frusciante began to decline while the band enjoyed success. He despised fame, being hounded, and hearing people yell his name at airports when all he wanted to do was play one excellent song. John Frusciante left the band without warning during their 1992 Japan tour. No fight, no declaration, no goodbye. he vanished. After helping RHCP make one of the best 1990s albums, John went underground at 22 to start a journey no one predicted. Self-destruction journey. Career success. No one expected John Frusciante back. After leaving Red Hot Chili Peppers in 1992, he fell into addiction and disappeared from the stage and media. The unexpected happened in 1998. Frusciante re-emerged as a reborn artist, teetering on the brink of a new chapter. After a turbulent time with Dave Navarro, Red Hot Chili Peppers needed a spark. A soul they lost that only John could restore. He returned to the band as a guy who had survived death and knew that music might be the one thing that could rescue a soul. Amazingly, Californication appeared in 1999. Frusciante's new sound was sadder than Blood Sugar's Mania. Larger, haunting. The guitar lines on Scar Tissue and the other side were slow, constrained, and exhaustedly beautiful, like dried blood. His goal wasn't to impress. He told the truth with notes, stillness, and what was left after the storm. The album totally exceeded expectations. Over 15 million copies sold globally, a new generation discovering RHCP, and Frusciante becoming publicly recognized as the band's sound architect for the first time. But for him, the real reward was playing music sober for the first time. Frusciante's artistic dominance over the band peaked with 2002's, by the way. He was responsible for much of the arrangements, layering guitar parts, and experimenting with open chords and dense harmonic textures. Dosed, with 4 intertwined guitar tracks, showed his extraordinary finesse, like John painting with strings. He released a deluge of solo albums during this time. Shadows Collide with People and an experimental series practically monthly in 2004 recorded Simply Water for 10 days. Frusciante's solo music was lo-fi, strange, whispered, and honest, unlike RHCP. Never mind how many copies he sold. He only cared about authenticity. Stadium Arcadium, 2006, was Frusciante's second RHCP album and his ultimate apex, a double album combining all he had learned from funk to pop, psychedelia to minimalism. Despite being exhausted from touring, he helped create an epic record that won 5 Grammys, sold millions, and was the band's last major release before a protracted hush. Frusciante left again in 2009, this time quietly. No more big band music for me. Self-exploration requires space. He disappeared again. Avoid self-destruction this time. To rediscover. Not all collapses and resurrections make noise. In 1992, Red Hot Chili Peppers' John Frusciante vanished silently as the band reached a new height. What transpired was unknown. They just knew that Frusciante abruptly departed, refused to finish the tour, and quietly returned to Los Angeles after a gig in Japan. Another chapter began at a rotting house in Echo Park, scrawled in heroin, cocaine, booze, and dry blood on the walls. John lived like a ghost, no baths, no teeth brushing, weeks without walking. He painted his bedroom walls with blood, paint, and frantic note scraps. His face was skeletal, his hair matted, and most of his teeth were rotten. A friend called it the horror of an artist burning himself alive. Despite addiction, he made music. Strange lo-fi recordings, often sounds like laborious breathing, released as Neanderlatis and generally only a t-shirt. Despite its lack of hooks and structure, the album was loaded with hauntingly beautiful agony. In 1996, his house burned. John narrowly survived, but all equipment, recordings, and artwork burned. That was the end, everyone thought. The media reported. Frusciante left. Nobody confirmed it, but everyone suspected it. Artists who lived instinctively couldn't last. No one expected what occurred next. In 1997, John Frusciante entered treatment. Free from cameras, pressure, and record deals. It was his lowest point. Withdrawal hurt him for months. He had to relearn how to live after skin transplants, dental restoration, and hepatitis C therapy. No one was waiting for him then. Contracts, record labels, and Red Hot Chili Peppers were absent. Who experimented with Dave Navarro. But John didn't care. He wanted to play music again. To live, not perform. With trembling but sober hands, he picked up the instrument again. He wrote songs without heroin for the first time. He read spiritual books, meditated, ate vegetarian, and secretly reconnected with Anthony Kiedis. No expectations, no plans. When RHCP realized no one could fill John's vacuum, they called him. His 1998 reappearance was lackluster. No press conferences, no media frenzy, just 4 men in a studio connecting into amps and letting the music speak. Frusciante returned as a survivor, not a celebrity. Personal life. John Frusciante never married. No kids, cameras, or tabloid romances. That seems odd for someone who was a global star and performed with a band at practically every major awards event. However, John had an option. His personal life was virtually completely private for years. Absent from parties, interviews, and social media. Some fans thought he had relapsed, since he was gone so long. Actually, he was living more quietly than ever. After his 1998 rebirth, Frusciante abandoned drugs and stopped needing attention. He lived alone in a little Hollywood Hills home surrounded by trees, with the world's noise outside the gate. Midnight meditation, music recording, and handwriting notebooks were his usual routine. A habit, he said, reminds me I'm alive and not performing. John rarely discussed his brief relationships, primarily with fellow artists, and never confirmed or denied anything. Nicole Turley, musician and performer, was the sole name mentioned. They briefly lived together in the 2010s but parted without legal action or news coverage. As with music, Frusciante lived in the moment and didn't flaunt love. "I don't need others to confirm my worth," he remarked in a rare interview. "Just a calm place to hear myself." That choice set him apart in a rock world where flings, angry tweets, and scandals are common. John Frusciante didn't live like a star. He was a loner who had died in addiction and wanted tranquility when he returned. Some call it odd. Some call it fame waste. However, anyone who has heard him play Will to Death or inaccessible tunes that sound like lonely souls will understand. This is his only means of living. Influence and legacy. John Frusciante causes earthquakes without media storms. His voice lingers in listeners' minds like incense, quiet but deep, never loud but hard to forget. Red Hot Chili Peppers had 3 creative peaks, all of which are Frusciante influenced. Critics dubbed him RHCP's musical soul because their music had a heartbeat whenever he was there, not because he wrote the most or performed best. John's delicate, fragmented guitar layers made Scar Tissue, Californication, Dosed, and Wet Sand possible. He turned sadness and loneliness into music. He convinced the world that grief was worth singing about, not hiding. Not a guitarist, Frusciante. He acts like he's trying to stay together. No solos or fancy technique, just exquisite riffs that loop like questions or disappear like sighs. He stated music must be authentic, not smart. That ethos extended his influence beyond RHCP. His philosophy has influenced generations of indie, ambient, and experimental performers. Mars Volta, Radiohead, Omar Rodriguez-Lopez, and bedroom pop artists. Though unpopular, his solo recordings are considered scholarly literature on how artists can use music to explore themselves. Transcendental journeys like The Will to Death, Shadows Collide with People, and his prolific 2004 series seek truth rather than appealing sound. To the music community, Frusciante embodied creative freedom. To be honest with himself, he rejected market rules, even those that made him rich. He departed RHCP again without scandal. He returned a third time without a spectacular entrance. He came and went like the seasons, changing the ambience subtly. In a music world dominated by social media, image, and marketing, John Frusciante's greatest legacy may be a silent, firm message. Music should not be seen, to be sensed. Present. Fans were shocked when Red Hot Chili Peppers abruptly announced John Frusciante's third return at the end of 2019. No press conference or PR campaign, just a banned Instagram post. "We lose Josh Klinghoffer and gain John Frusciante." John rejoined RHCP after a decade. No explanation, no spectacular entrance. John remains quiet and restrained. But whenever he played his Stratocaster, the world was silent. Since he always let the music speak, no one needed him to say more. He and RHCP released Unlimited Love and Return of the Dream Canteen in 2022. Both showed Frusciante's style through haunting layers of harmony and restrained yet resonant strumming. He didn't imitate Californication or follow trends. At 52, Frusciante played a calm, never dull account of his life. Neandra Lades and Frequently Just a T-Shirt, Frusciante's solo debut recorded while Addiction, was reissued on vinyl in 2024. It was a conversation with the past, not simply nostalgia. Scarred yet worth reassessing. In 2024, he rejoined with Venetian Snares for Speed Dealer Moms, releasing an experimental electronic EP. Music that never pursued the market but offered Frusciante his greatest freedom. His absence was public. No interviews, no social media, just music. Still distributed regularly, extremely experimental, like letters without addresses for patient listeners. Frusciante performed Danny California with RHCP at the Fire Aid LA charity concert in early 2025 to benefit wildfire victims. After years of isolation, he quietly returned to the community by contributing to the Los Angeles Rising Project, an all-star fundraising album. In secret, Frusciante is planning RHCP's next album. Recording should start late 2025. He's also a music advisor for Netflix's Love, Death and Robots stop-motion episode and co-producing a camp-premiering Red Hot Chili Pepper documentary. John doesn't need to be known, thus not everyone knows what he does. No promotion or explanation. Frusciante, 55, no longer runs from his shadow. He's learned to stay still so whatever's needed will come. It may be this that has transformed him. Now he plays with more joy. Never sought legend, John Frusciante. He never sought fame, performed to impress, or exploited suffering to get attention. That's why he's one of our most memorable artists. For almost 30 years, his life has alternated between genius and devastation, music and stillness. He disappeared like a ghost after drowning in drugs, returning with a guitar and hollow eyes. He emerged from the darkness to life again without a sound or scream for aid. To play again, stay. John Frusciante's legacy isn't Grammys or streaming hits. The key is living genuinely, with or without celebrity, despite all expectations, and beyond the market's loss. He's an artist who focuses on sound rather than appearance in a world where follower counts and polished photographs define artists. And maybe he needs no introduction. Only that you pause when Under the Bridge's initial notes start. Only that scar tissue riffs silence you when they hit your chest. Only that. That alone proves John Frusciante stayed. If you've listened to him play a simple riff that felt your heart constrict, comment below. You may have found him through Californication or followed his rise and fall from the start. Every tale merits attention. If you think artists like Frusciante, who never used loudness to reach others, should be remembered, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss our next story.